Hey folks, this is Kelani. When we had our first sneak peek at the new Azurite armor system, quite a few people seemed disappointed that there wasn't a great variety of abilities and the ones shown definitely weren't that exciting. Thankfully, that was our first preview, so from here on out we should only have more and more to look at. A recent update for the Alpha Realms included a whole bunch of additional pieces of Azurite armor, as well as some new Azurite powers, so that's what we're going to have a look at. There's a whole lot of new stuff being added in the system, and overall it looks like we're getting closer to a finished product. There's also a little introduction quest for obtaining the Heart of Azeroth, and newly created characters are having to go through all of the pre-patch stuff before they get to Zandalar or Kul Tiras, so the alpha is chugging along quite nicely. Let's start by grabbing the Heart of Azeroth and then checking out how the Azurite armor system is evolving. Remember, this is all alpha footage, so everything is subject to change and may not reflect the finished product. After you're done with the pre-patch stuff and the events leading up to your arrival in either Kul Tiras or Zandalar, you'll be visited by our good old friend Magni Bronzebeard. He's still as shiny as ever, but now he's Azeroth's private secretary. Our world has a message for us and a gift to help us grow in power. You're teleported into a mysterious titan structure called the Chamber of Heart, so this place is probably very important and quite deep underground. There's an object you can interact with which shows you how the world was wounded. It just plays the cinematic at the end of Antorus. Whether or not that will play something new after this all goes live will be something we won't know about until later on, but for now it just shows how Sargeras managed to plunge his sword into our world. Of course, it could just be there for those who didn't see Antorus, but that's what it's showing for now. There's also a Maiden of Vitality who seems rather broken, so this facility has definitely seen better days. It looks like a lot of other Titan facilities we've come across in our adventures. I'm getting a few flashbacks from the Halls of Stone specifically. Thankfully, we don't have to fend off any waves of monsters, and when you talk to Magni, a cinematic plays. That cinematic is unfinished or missing right now, and after it you're given the Heart of Azeroth, so we don't actually get any story here outside of that cinematic, meaning we're going to have to wait and see what Azeroth needs to tell us and why the Heart of Azeroth is so important, but for now it's just a conduit for powering our special armor. Maybe we'll need it to restore Azeroth later on, or maybe we need it to fight off some old god corruption. We have no idea. That's all you can do in the Chamber of Heart. I was honestly expecting to have to defend Azeroth, or at least Magni, from some tentacles or other void creatures, but oh well, I guess that will probably come later. After you've equipped the Heart of Azeroth, you can now see a progress bar for when your amulet will level up. It's in the same place as Artifact Power was, down next to your experience bar. When you hit max level, your XP bar will disappear, leaving just the Azurite bar. It looks like the numbers are going to start very small and hopefully won't end up getting too crazy. I'm on my Demon Hunter at level 120 with a level 7 amulet, and 160 Artifact Power will give me about 21% to finish off this level and bump me up to a level 8 artifact. Azurite comes from a variety of sources. It looks like it really will be just like Artifact Power. Your first few rewards will come from storyline quests, but you'll also get Azurite from taking part in dungeons, raids, world quests and PvP, from what I understand. The new forms of content like the island expeditions and the warfronts will probably award a decent chunk of Azurite too, because the dev team will want to draw as many players to the new stuff as they can, and there's no better way than to award Azurite right out of the gate. When you pick up your amulet, you're awarded a small amount of Azurite as well as your first piece of Azurite armor. This piece of armor is actually the one we've already had a preview of, but the first thing you should notice is the number of tiers has dropped from 4 to 3. I wonder if they were having troubles coming up with enough abilities to cover 4 tiers across 3 pieces of armor, while trying to keep a decent standard of uniqueness to the armor and the traits. The first tier always has 1 general trait and 1 trait for each specialization available to your class. The second tier is 2 general traits which would work for any class or spec, and then the third tier is always plus 5 item level to your piece of armor. Honestly, if they were going to do away with the tier, I would have gotten rid of the bottom one. Plus 5 item level is boring no matter how you look at it, and reducing the number of tiers would still reduce the number of overall abilities required for the Azurite armor. That last point should be something unique and special, instead of the least exciting part of the Azurite armor so far. Then again, alpha is alpha, maybe that's just a placeholder for now. There's also a chance that a 4th tier will be made available for gear later down the line, like when we start picking up epics instead of just blues. If you look at the required amulet levels on the left hand side, they go up in increments of 3 for each tier, but they don't all start in the same place. Some pieces of armor have requirements of 1, 4 and 7, whereas others have 2, 5 and 8. I've also had pieces with 3, 6 and 9, so if you have one piece of gear from each variant, you actually get a new Azurite Azurite bonus every time you level up your amulet, at least in the beginning. That's kind of cool, getting one thing every time you level up, but it probably won't work out like that half the time, but at least then you get 2 or 3 bonuses every 3rd level in your amulet. Spreading out the tiers like that is a pretty smart move in my opinion, but I wonder how high this is going to go. What's going to be the maximum level required for any piece of armor, because if it only goes up to 9, we're going to get that pretty damn quickly, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. If you're wondering where different types of Azurite armor will come from, it seems like it's going to be more or less the same kind of deal as Azerite itself. You're awarded a few items for completing major storyline quests, and after you get to max level they're going to come from dungeons, raids, PvP, the usual places gear comes from. Now, as for how those traits and bonuses will be distributed, any item with the same name will always have the same Azurite armor traits. So if you have an amazing helm of Audacity, that's going to have the same traits no matter what item level it drops at or how many times you get that particular item. A helmet of Sparkling Specialness will have different traits, so if one has better traits for you, you're going to be hunting for that specific item when we get to max level. It's like hunting for specific relics again, except we're looking for a helm, shoulder and chest slot item instead of 3 relics. Hopefully this ends up being a fun adventure, but I guess we'll have to see how it all ends up. One interesting piece of information that we have about Azurite armor is they kind of come in little sets. From the Vol'dun questing, you can choose between the same head, shoulder and chest piece a few times, so you eventually end up with 2 or all 3 of them. All of those pieces of Azurite armor have these same traits, which are sort of inspired by the desert area of Vol'dun. These Scorching Sands pieces have a Sandstorm trait, which gives your attacks a chance to summon a little cyclone which deals quite a good chunk of damage in a small area. There's also a little heal whenever you get stunned, immobilized or knocked back, or a shield which protects you if you're facing more than 4 enemies. You can see both pieces I currently possess have the same traits to choose from, so I assume the other questing areas will also have little sets with their own bonuses reflecting the zones themselves. Whether you're rocking cloth, leather, mail or plate, I think we'll all have the same choices when it comes to the general traits on these pieces of armor, which could be a really interesting way of doing things. If dungeons all had specific general traits which reflected the dungeon zone and bosses you encounter, as opposed to just being random things being thrown at a dartboard to see what sticks, that could add some really awesome flavour to these Azurite armor pieces that we weren't necessarily expecting. I would hope the dev team takes this idea forward and uses it throughout all content, including the first raid tiers and beyond. Even if a few things end up being a little silly, being able to directly tie the Azurite armor traits to the place where you picked up the piece of gear could be a fun little addition. That also means that everyone would have access to the same general traits. It's kind of like general legendaries all over again. Some of them are class specific, in this case the first tier on each piece of your armor will be class specific, but some will be available for everyone, like our good old friend Prydaz. Everyone has the option to use Prydaz, just like everyone will have the same options for the rest of the Azurite armor, which is actually only one other tier right now. 1 tier for classes, 1 tier for everyone, and then the last tier is just +5 item level, so that hardly counts. Sadly, we can't go into the dungeon journal and check out the Azurite powers from the loot tables there. Hopefully that will be implemented in the future, but what we can do is take a look at some of the bonuses data mined by Wowhead. There's quite a few more traits for some classes when compared to others, which is actually pretty exciting. If everyone just had a handful of traits, it would be a case of, oh, this is all we get? But seeing as Paladin has significantly more than everyone else, we should be saying, I can't wait to see what else gets added for my class. We'll go through a handful of these in the video, but I'll give you a link to the Wowhead page in the comments below so you can peruse at your own leisure. Going through everything would take a little too long, so I hope you forgive me for skipping over most classes, but I also want to show you we're getting a wider variety of bonuses in this new Azurite armor system, and it's not all bland and boring. This is a cloth chest piece with the following traits. Rezan's Fury has a chance to summon a child of Rezan to deal damage to your enemies and apply a bleed effect. Mages get Brainstorm, while channeling Evocation your intellect increases every 1 second. Scorch increases the damage the target takes from Fire Blast, and consuming Brain Freeze has a 30% chance to make your non-instant flurry deal more damage. Basically the Pyro Braces but for Frost Mage. For priests we have Wheel and Woe. Healing an ally with Penance increases the damage of your next smite, and dealing damage with Penance increases the absorb of your next power word shield. Blessed Sanctuary gives a boost to your Echo of Light from Holy Word Sanctify, and Thought Harvester causes Vampiric Touch to increase the damage of Mind Blast. Warlocks have an ability which causes corruption to increase the damage of your next drain life, Umbral Blaze gives Hand of Gul'dan a chance to apply a damage over time effect, and Erratic Omen causes any target hit by a spell via Havoc to maybe take some extra damage. The other two general traits are Gem Hide, if you take more damage than 10% of your health you gain avoidance and dodge for 10 seconds, and Long Strider, which increases your movement speed dependent on your highest secondary stat. A few legendary effects are being reused there, but it's nice to see some mechanics which were restricted to just one spec previously get expanded upon and opened up to some of the others. Hopefully things are going to be fairly balanced, though there's a lot in there to try and balance, so we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. So that's it for our more in-depth preview of the Azerite armor system now that it's been expanded upon, and now that we have a few more ideas laid out in front of us, it might end up in a really good spot. I hope they try and get inventive with some of the traits that are on special armor. I feel like this is totally the right place to introduce some cool, exciting mechanics and bonuses instead of just increasing our numbers again and again. What do you think of the Azerite armor after it's being added to a little more? Has your opinion changed from our previous preview? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.